Yes, I'm afraid it's true, and I'm really sorry. After 13 years of making Wheeler Dealers, I'm now going to be leaving the show.
For years, fans asked the same question. Why did Edd China really leave Wheeler Dealers? The official story felt too neat, too polished. No drama, just creative differences, but something didn't add up. The chemistry was perfect. The show was thriving. And then suddenly, he was gone. Now, after 8 long years, Edd China has finally confirmed why he left Wheeler Dealers. In a recent quietly dropped interview, he revealed what many suspected all along, and it's deeper than anyone imagined: the golden age of Wheeler Dealers. When Wheeler Dealers quietly premiered in 2003, nobody expected it to become a global phenomenon. It wasn't flashy. It didn't shout for attention. It didn't new. It was just two BLO, one buying beat-up cars and the other bringing them back to life in a modest little workshop with squeaky floor tiles and tools. Older than some of the cars themselves. Mike Brewer, the ever-enthusiastic Wheeler and Dealer, and Edd China, the towering soft-spoken engineering wizard, made an unlikely but instantly endearing duo. The early format was refreshingly simple. Mike would scout for affordable used cars that had potential, diamonds in the rough, and Edd would work his magic in the garage, taking viewers step by step through every nut, bolt, gasket, and patch panel. There were no sweeping drone shots or dramatic music swells. No sponsored plugs or gratuitous slow-motion shots of tire smoke, just honest mechanics and even more honest storytelling. The show didn't try to be slick, and that's exactly why it worked in the early years. The show was made with a skeleton crew. Mike, Edd, a cameraman, a sound guy, and a couple of producers. From A to Boy TV. It was RAW'd, it was pure. There were no guarantees it would even get picked up again after the first season. But it did, and not just picked up, propelled. What started as a low-budget British car show would eventually become a juggernaut in over 200 territories and pulling in hundreds of millions of viewers. But with success comes scale, and with scale comes friction. As the show's footprint expanded, so did the expectations. Behind the curtain, decisions were being made, bigger ones, commercial ones, and slowly the story began to shift. Not just on screen, but behind the scenes. 2. Building a brand without the gloss. Part of what made Wheeler Dealers unique in the early 2000s was what I refused to do. In a TV landscape increasingly saturated with glossy sponsor-driven content, Edd and Mike built a brand that almost defiantly rejected product placements, flashy gimmicks, or overly dramatized edits. There were no brought to you by interruptions. No staged conflicts for the sake of a storyline. Just real cars, real problems, and real solutions. But Edd once remarked in an interview that Wheeler Dealers was always about getting your hands dirty and showing people how it's actually done, not about glamorizing the process. That rawness became its superpower. Viewers weren't just watching for the before and after reveals. They stuck around for the middle, the grease-covered, often painstaking bits that most other shows edited out. In industry circles, Wheeler Dealers was something of a unicorn. It succeeded not Because of branding, but in spite of the lack of it. As one fan blog put it, they treated the audience like mechanics, not consumers. Their ways an almost old-school BBC-style educational charm to it, and fans appreciated that trust. This approach gave the show authenticity, something you can't fake with clever editing or budget. But while audiences embraced gloss format, it didn't exactly thrill network executives with dollar signs in their eyes, especially not in America, where content is often seen through the lens of monetization first, storytelling second. As the show gained traction across the Atlantic and began pulling serious numbers internationally, Discovery saw an opportunity. Wheeler Dealers wasn't just a car show anymore. It was a brand, and brands too. Them had to polished, structured, and marketable. The idea of leaving sponsor money on the table became harder and harder to. That was the turning point. Discovery and its U.S. arm Velocity channel didn't just want a successful show. They wanted a TV product. Something sleek, something scalable, something Americanized. And that's exactly when the slow, subtle fracturing in creative vision began to form. Fame, friction, and format stress. By the time Wheeler Dealers reached its 7th season, it wasn't just a popular show. It was a global franchise. With every new market came new expectations, more cars, tighter schedules, quicker turnarounds, and an increasing number of people weighing in on what the show should be. The format was still recognizable, but it was stretching. The episodes had to fit new time slots in different territories. The cuts became tighter, the explanations shorter. Viewers started noticing that Edd's technical segments, once the meat of the show, were shrinking bit by bit. Behind the scenes, Edd and Mike were also dealing with the logistical chaos that comes with international success. Deadlines got more brutal. Shooting schedules became relentless. Vehicles had to be sourced, fixed, filmed, and flipped faster than ever before. There were signs, small ones, but noticeable. Edd's explanations of certain repairs felt rushed. Whole procedures were suddenly done off camera. Technical deep dives gave way to time-lapsed montages. For longtime fans, the change was jarring. The soul of the show, the part where you actually learn something, was being squeezed. Reddit threads, car forums, and YouTube comment sections lit up with speculation. Why doesn't Edd explain the repairs like he used to? Did anyone else notice he's barely in the last few episodes? Are they trying to Americanize the show? Many viewers assumed it was just a natural evolution, or that Edd was possibly scaling back due to time constraints. Few suspected the real answer, that he was quietly pushing back behind the scenes, advocating for the integrity of the workshop segments, that he wasn't ready to give up the soul of the show without a fight. But in the cutthroat world of television production, creative pushback often runs head first into budget constraints, network priorities, and audience data analytics. Edd was fighting a battle that was sadly already lost behind closed doors. Still, he didn't quit. Not immediately. He tried to adapt. He tried to make it work. And for a while he succeeded in keeping the essence alive, even if only in fragments. But the cracks had formed. Although no public disagreements were Aired at the time, the signs were there. Mike, always the showman, began front-loading more of the screen time. Edd China was starting to feel like a passenger on a ship he once helped build. And the destination. Somewhere. Slicker, somewhere faster, somewhere. That didn't have time for torque specs. And thread lock. The velocity takeover. A fork in the road. Then came the corporate shift that changed everything. After 12 solid seasons, Discovery made a pivotal business move. Production of Wheeler Dealers would no longer be handled by Adaboy TV, the UK-based company that birthed the show. Instead, Discovery handed the reins over to its new subsidiary, Velocity Channel. Out went the cozy British workshop and collaborative production style. In came Discovery Studios in California and a mandate to modernize the format. 2. Discovery execs, this was a logical evolution. The show had global momentum, a solid fan base, and clear monetization potential. But to the core creative team, especially Edd, this felt like a hostile takeover of the show's DNA. It addressed this transition candidly in his farewell video. He revealed that Velocity found the original format too difficult to produce, particularly the detailed and in-depth coverage of the fixes that had defined the show. The new U.S. producers wanted tighter episodes with quicker segments and broader appeal. In plain terms, less time under the hood, more time on the surface. Edd was asked to simplify, to cut corners, to reduce his segments to something closer to mechanical sound bites than actual repairs. It was a slow but definitive erosion of the show's foundation. For him, mechanical transparency wasn't just a segment. It was the heart of the show. Once that was up for compromise, he knew it was a fork in the road. And the path he chose would take him far away from the brand he helped build. Behind the scenes, a battle over Thiso's soul. Long before cameras stopped rolling and goodbye videos hit the internet, a quiet war was already being waged behind the scenes of Wheeler Dealers. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about fame. It was about something far more personal. Creative integrity. At the heart of this battle stood Edd China. A man who didn't just repair cars. He taught people how to think like mechanics. Every fix he performed wasn't just a repair job. It was a mini masterclass in engineering delivered with patience, precision, and a surprising dose of wit. Edd's segments weren't filler. They were the spine of the show. But as Velocity's influence grew, so did their appetite for speed and polish. Their vision leaned toward entertainment first. Flashy edits, snappy transitions, and shorter attention spans catered to. In their eyes, a 15-minute carburetor rebuild was dead weight. Why show someone how to fix a gearbox when you can just cut to the before and after with upbeat music and a few one-liners? Edd saw things differently. He believed the viewers deserved the why behind every how. That was the core of his philosophy, and heckna that once those lessons were stripped away, what remained wasn't T-Wheeler Dealers. It was just another car flipping show. In his now famous 2017 farewell video, Edd didn't mince words that he calmly but firmly stated that the new production Setup wanted to reduce the workshop. Segment content significantly in. Doing so forced him into a corner. He said that's not something I'm particularly comfortable with. I could have carried on doing the show, of course.